Hello, my name is Rebecca Chow, and I'm currently attending Kenyatta College through the Carlmont High School Middle College program. I would like to speak to you about the need for our city's involvement in improving education. We can all agree that quality education is absolutely essential to a successful future, but I worry about this chance for success is universally accessible when the resources needed for a quality education are limited. Certain community centers, libraries, tutoring centers, and other necessary resources for success are underfunded and neglected in low-income areas of our city. This has systematically kept low-income kids at a disadvantage because the resources are more scarce. It is easy for kids to feel like success in school and their future is intangible when they begin to fall behind and there are no resources nearby to catch them. I have known this struggle personally. When I was in elementary school, I knew that everyone spoke English better than I did. I primarily spoke Mandarin because I was raised by my Taiwanese grandma. But as soon as I started school, I realized that this was a major obstacle to my learning. I kept this burden a secret because I felt like everyone already thought I was stupid, so I didn't want to confirm their beliefs by admitting that I did not understand. For years, I panicked about being behind and forced myself to go to the library every day to read 2 books. I eventually surpassed the proficiency level of reading, but at a major cost. I was not happy, nor was I confident with my abilities. I was lucky that there were books in my library to read, but not lucky enough to have programs easily accessible to ease my anxiety about English. I struggled, and I hated school with all my heart. It felt like the education system was my enemy when I was younger. I never want another kid to feel this way. My question to the City Council candidates is, what role should the city play in improving K-12 education?
So one of the reasons why we're all here today is because the city and the school board and the high school board are all elected separately in our community. That has some pros and cons. But the good news is that we all work very well together. I know everybody who's sitting here today, and I think the first part is just to really keep that dialogue open. In terms of what the city can do specifically, I think it's maintain our world-class libraries to ensure that you have access to all the information and ensure that every library in every community has equal weight in terms of the quality of the materials there, in terms of the access to everything you need. Fair Oaks, the library there, is due for a revamp. I want to bring that up to a higher standard, to the same level as the Redwood Shores Library or the main downtown library. We also have a small library over at Sheaburg, which during good times we've been able to expand the hours there, but it's a constant ongoing challenge is how do you maintain hours and service in a time when the economy is tight.
So I grew up in East Palo Alto. So I know what it's like to struggle, and I know what it's like to come from a non-performing community, okay? And I grew up in the libraries, though, and that's where I found my solace, was in the library. So I commend you, because that's where I found mine. What can we do as council leaders? We can actually support exactly what Councilmember Bain just said, and that's making sure our libraries are at their peak. They're no longer where you go in and you shh. They are learning centers, and I want to continue those learning centers for everyone. We need to make sure we look at the Fair Oaks Community Library. That needs to be all redone. That is in my neighborhood. I live in Friendly Acres. That's the library that many of my community go and frequent, and it needs to be redone. So I'm trying to work with the county supervisors, and they're all in support of this, to bring that library up to a standard that is deserving in that community. We need to have good libraries for all of our students and all of our community and their parents, because your education of your children start with you. You're their first teacher, and you can help them with those libraries.
Thank you, Janet. Shelley?
Well, I'm so glad you asked this question, because one of the reasons I'm running for city council after having sat on the school board is because I feel like there's a lot the city can do to work more effectively with both the high school district and the elementary district. It is true that we work together and we talk to each other, but there is a lot more coordination and understanding of the needs of each of our organizations that could be done to help improve services. Libraries are one great example. A lot has been said about what could be done to improve our libraries. But I think there are other pieces that we need to think about. We need to think about our parks and recreation services so that we have strong after-school programs and strong summer programs, and that part of that is the city's responsibility. We also need to look at some of the other things I talked about before, like being able to walk safely in our city and being able to bike safely in our city. And that's also the city's responsibility, but it's the city's responsibility to work with the school district to understand what's happening with the families so that the families can provide input into all of these different areas.
Thank you, Shelley. Thank you. Tanya?
So one of the reasons that I've gotten involved is that because I feel that structurally government isn't working exactly the way it maybe should be. We need to integrate a lot of the disparate departments. If we were a company, we'd call them silos, and we would be looking at ways to matrix them together. And I believe that this is something that in city government we need to look at. Why are these two departments separate and apart? Básicamente lo que he dicho es que lo que pienso es que en el gobierno hemos hecho programas separados, hemos puesto departamentos separados en muchas áreas en las cuales en realidad lo que deberíamos de hacer es juntarlas. Tenemos que empezar a trabajar juntos no tanto solo como departamento escolar, pero también como concilio de la ciudad. Y es ese nexo, ese trabajo en conjunto que va a permitirnos a todos llegar a soluciones más efectivas para todos.